This is reason number 1 as to why you should always be very careful when inviting anyone into your home, even family. So for those of you guys who follow me on here, you already know that my father and I don't have the best relationship. Recently, I found out that he had a baby, so I reached out. We ended up reuniting. I met the baby and decided to invite them over to my house for dinner. Mind you, my home is extremely protected. So if anybody comes in with any type of negativity around them, they're not gonna feel well. So he comes over. The minute he walks in, he starts to become ill. He said he felt like he was gonna faint, like he didn't know what was going on. They ended up cutting their visit short and practically rushed out of the door. I didn't think much of it and just decided to go on with my day. The next day, which was on Sunday, I woke up in the worst possible mood. I couldn't understand why I was in such a bad mood. I had absolutely no reason to feel so angry, but something was just really bothering me. I decided to take the kids to go watch the new Spider-Man to kind of get my mind off of it. Once I left the house, I realized that I no longer felt like that anger. Like, it was gone and I felt fine. But the minute we went back home, I started to feel angry again. Decided to ignore it. I don't know why I keep ignoring things. Decided to ignore it, went about my day. That Monday I wake up, when I go downstairs, I notice that the house is dark. Like, there's this darkness around the house. My house is extremely light. My shades are always open. I don't like darkness. But again, busy with work, I kind of just get ready and go about my day. When I get home later on that day, the house has this weird, like, rotting smell. My kids can't smell it, but I can smell it, and it's bothering me. So I go around cleaning the house. I'm like bleaching, I'm scrubbing, I'm mopping. I'm like, where's that smell coming from? I even like deep clean the trash can, like in the inside, thinking maybe something spilled in there. I couldn't get the smell from like out of my nose. That night I go to bed and I end up waking up at exactly 3 a.m. So I'm like, fun, this is fun. I'm like getting chills even thinking about it. My mouth is so freaking dry. I go downstairs to get something to drink. When I go downstairs, I notice that the basement door is open. I never leave that door open. So I shut it, grabbed the water, and went back to my room. The minute I lay down, I'm paralyzed. This thing paralyzes me, and it shows itself. I'm like fighting back again. I'm not afraid of any of this stuff because I've been dealing with this stuff my whole life. So I'm pretty much laughing at it, telling it that it has no power and needs to leave. I start to pray, and it's continuing to like hold me down. At one point, I'm able to break free and I like overpower this thing. I have one of those Stanley cups, the dupe, not the real one. I'm not spending $40 on a cup. Next to my nightstand, and I started to hit it in the head with it. Once I did this, it went away. I say my prayers and go to sleep. I wake up at about 6 a.m. and decide to go downstairs to get my coffee. When I go downstairs into the kitchen, I hear what sounds like something like fumbling in the basement, like something's falling over in the basement. And then I look and realize that the basement door is open.
I've literally watched all the stitches to this video, but this story that I'm about to tell today, even though it happened years ago, still gives me chills, and I feel like it has a lot to do with why I quit my job. So I used to work in long-term care, for those of you that don't know, pretty much a nursing home. I was a certified nursing assistant out of high school. This was my first big girl job, okay? So when I first started, I didn't know a lot about the different types of shifts, but there's pretty much 7 to 3, 3 to 11, 11 to 7. I worked the 7 to 3, which was 7 o'clock in the morning until 3 o'clock in the afternoon. As time went on, I slowly started to transition to 3 to 11 to work around my college courses. But every now and then I would pick up an 11 to 7 shift. It didn't take long before I started working there where people were telling me about this one particular resident that had an issue with people of a certain color coming into his room. I didn't have too much interaction with this resident because, like I said, I only worked 7 to 3, and you didn't have to do a lot for him. Just go in and check on him and make sure he was okay. Bring him his food tray. Every now and then he might ask you for help to go to the bathroom, but that was about it. I had heard that this resident could get kind of nasty sometimes. I also heard that he had dementia, so he was like seeing stuff. And I also remember going in his room a couple times and seeing all of the mirrors in his room covered up. This is gonna come back later. So on my first 11 to 7, we'll call this nurse Patty. Patty pulled me aside and she was like, hey, this is the list of people pretty much doing the report for when I first, clocked in, starting my shift. She told me who I had, who was total assist, which I had to do everything for, and who I could pretty much, let. So I noticed that this list had this certain patient's number on it, this certain resident's number on it. His room number was on there. But instead of it saying, just limited assistance or whatever, it was like total assist. So I asked, I'm like, I know I have him during the day and I just go in and check on him and make sure he's okay. If he rings the call light, I'll go in, but other than that, that's about it. When did he become a total assist? So she proceeds to tell me that the night before, he got so scared and so frantic and thought something was in his room that he jumped out of his bed and fell on the floor and did something to his hip. So at this point, currently, he's a total assist, meaning I have to go in, I have to check on him, I have to do everything for him. I say, cool, no problem. I start doing my rounds, I start checking on my people, passing out ice water, changing people, as I normally do. Literally not even 15 minutes into my shift, his call light is on. I go in, I make sure everything's okay. As soon as I get in, I kid you not, this man is literally in the fetal position. I walk up to him and I ask him if everything's okay. Obviously, when I walk up to him, I'm very careful because, like I stated before, he did not like people of my color coming into his room. During the day, he would make a big deal out of this. Like, if he could get a nurse or a nursing assistant of a different color, he definitely would. He did not pay that any mind. He literally jumped straight into, they're in here, they're after me, please help me. I'm looking like, who is they? He's like, you don't see that little boy behind you? No, I can't say that I do, sir. So it took me literally 15 minutes, and by the grace of God, I was able to calm this man down. We're going to call him Mr. Johnson. After I calmed Mr. Johnson down, I left out of the room, and I went and did my rounds like usual. Literally, not even 10 minutes later, he's back on the call light. I said, okay, maybe he's got to go to the bathroom or something. I don't know. So I went in, checked. This time when I went in the room, I noticed that the room was extremely cold. Extremely cold. When I went in there earlier, it was not cold like that. Now, the nursing home, that nursing home in particular was a little colder on the graveyard shift. But when I tell you it was cold to the point where I could see my breath cold. At this point, not only is he in the fetal position, but he is also under the covers and he is also crying. So I walk up to him. I lift the cover up. I look under the cover. Again, he's sitting under there. We make immediate eye contact and he's like, help me, please help me. So I'm trying to calm him down because whatever he's seeing, I'm just not seeing it. So I'm like, Mr. Johnson, I'm gonna need for you to cooperate with me. I'm gonna need for you to tell me what's going on so I can better assist you and we can get through this shift together. At this point, I'm doing what I've been taught to do for somebody that's going through a dementia or Alzheimer's crisis, which is what I was told that he had. He calms down a little bit and he literally just starts talking. And when I tell you this got crazy quick, it got crazy quick. So he's telling me that when he was younger, about his 20s or 30s, he was married to a young woman. We're going to call her Maggie. Him and Maggie had just bought a farm. It was literally just him and Maggie. And before you knew it, Maggie got pregnant. Back then, it literally wasn't uncommon to have people of color hired as help to help you on the farm, to help you raise kids, whatever the case may be. This was post-slavery, but people was very much still feeling entitled to doing whatever they wanted to do to people of color. So that's the time frame we in. He tells me that months go down the line, whatever. He goes and he wakes up early one morning. He sees that his wife is a little uncomfortable. She tells him like maybe the baby's coming or whatever. He doesn't think nothing of it. He goes out, get on his tractor, and he does his farmer work. He has a farm hand named Tommy. Tommy is a black man, okay? Around lunch, he's guessing is when his wife went into labor while he was still out in the field. His wife called her mother-in-law, which was Mr. Johnson's mom, her sister-in-law, and his brothers came as well. Everybody's making sure that everything's going okay. The baby is finally born at some point. When the baby is born, I guess everybody in the room looked around at each other and realized that this baby was not in no way, shape, or form white. The brothers immediately take the baby and they go outside. His mom sits there with her and they go. They snatch this baby and they take the baby outside. Meanwhile, all this is going on. Him and Tommy are still out in the field. They took this baby out into a body of water. And I will not be saying what they did to this baby, but you can only imagine for the time period. Him and Tommy finally wrap up their work for the day and he heads back to the house. When he gets inside the house, he sees his wife sitting there with his mother. His wife is crying. His mom's just sitting there irritated and pissed off. He asks what's going on, and that's when she gives him the whole rundown that your wife was pretty much sleeping with your field hand, and this is the situation that you're in. So he asks, where's the baby? And the mom says, your brother's taking care of it. Don't worry about it. You need to figure out what you're going to do with her. Meanwhile, this is going on. His brothers have went and got Tommy out of the field. The things that they did to Tommy, again, I cannot describe it here on TikTok, but just imagine the torture and everything that he went through. They literally just left him there in that field. They left him there in the middle of the field. This man proceeds to tell me that when he finally figures out what happened and what his brothers did, they literally acted like nothing ever happened. And every night, Tommy and his son will come and visit him like clockwork. At this point, when I tell you the chills are running up my spine. Literally every hair on my body is sticking up. I don't know what to say. I'm like, when they say frozen in fear, I was frozen in fear. Because it's like, as soon as he told me that story, I could pick up on what was in the room. Before, I couldn't pick up on what it was, but I could immediately feel something else in the room with us. After he told me the story, I finally got him to calm down and he went to sleep. He slept for literally a couple hours, and at this point, we're at 3 o'clock in the morning. Like clockwork, he hits that call light again. I go back in. I remember walking into the room and all of the sheets were taken off of the mirrors, which I thought was very strange because he wanted his mirrors covered up for a reason. I went over to Mr. Johnson and I touched him to make sure that he was okay, and this man was ice cold. He had died. As I went to leave the room to go contact a nurse, oh my God, I'm getting chills. I'm literally passing by this mirror, and as I'm headed out, on my left is the mirror. I turn and look in the mirror, and behind me, to the far wall of Mr. Johnson's room, I see a taller figure, and I see a shorter figure standing beside this taller figure that I would say is probably about the height of a 5-year-old child. I have never seen nothing like that in my life, ever. And I cannot explain the amount of fear that ran through my body, but I got out of that room so quick, I will tell you that. The crazy part is that when the nurse came in, we could not understand how these mirrors got uncovered. Even the one in the bathroom was uncovered. The one in his room was uncovered. Again, this is a man that just hurt his hip yesterday. There's no reason why he should have been out of bed taking these blankets off this mirror, and I know he wouldn't have done it anyway. Also, the fact that she felt like he had been dead for longer than I said he had. But again, I had just talked to Mr. Johnson. I had literally just talked to him. So I don't understand how a dead man talks, but maybe y'all can let me know. And when I tell you, baby, I only lasted 3 more days after that. I didn't sleep for days. I said, I'm not coming back. Y'all ain't gotta work.
This is one of the scariest stories I've ever read. It was posted 10 years ago on Reddit by an account called A Writer Named Williams. It was on the subreddit called Let's Not Meet. The story is called Poker Face. So sit back, relax, and enjoy this very scary story. This happened in Antioch, California. It was around 2 a.m. I was at a friend's house, safe in warm, sheltered suburbia. We were having a lot to drink, chit-chatting, enjoying ourselves, of course. When you're having fun, time hits the fast-forward button, and those few minutes turn into an hour. I had too much to drink. My friend has a bit of an abrupt bedtime, so I had to dodge out early, still intoxicated. I felt too shameful thinking I'd be asking too much to stay in his house to sleep off the drunkenness. I suppose he was either too rude or too drunk to consider it himself. Whatever. Sometimes a little inconvenience makes you appreciate everything else. I needed about another hour or so to sober up and drive back. As fast as time passed during my stay, it decided to drastically slow down as soon as I stepped out of his house. It was a cul-de-sac area, a concrete jungle with the stem of the street breaking into a fork. Alongside the road, my car was parked. The only street light that worked was in the middle of the cul-de-sac circle, about 80 yards away. I stumbled towards my car, produced my keys, and felt the metal line up. Opened my door and shifted to the back seat. Because this was a dark, strange, and unfamiliar neighborhood, I took the leftover newspapers and a sweater in my back seat to cover myself up. I was a little scared. I wanted to camouflage myself and not just be some guy awkwardly sitting in his car, waiting for time to pass in order to drive home. I couldn't fall asleep. The uncomfortable feeling of a cheap backseat bed enshrouded in darkness didn't make the chance of slumber easier. It felt too ominous, and of course my mind began to wonder. I thought of worst-case scenarios, like how the police would shine their lights on me through the window, or a drunk driver hitting my car, and... Wait. In the distance, about 100 yards away, I hear footsteps approaching. The gravel scuffed with each step forward, growing in proximity but periodically taking stops. I wondered why until it made sense in my mind. Whoever it was probably looking through cars carefully, with the intent to steal one. I couldn't recall how many cars were on the block, but I counted 3 full stops until he was at my window, breathing. I froze. There was no more than 1 foot between us. The car encapsulated me as I lay hidden beneath backseat clutter, forming myself into an object, trying my hardest to be unnoticeable, unmoving, and simply not there. "I see you," said a 40-plus-year-old man in a perverse baby talk. I imagine when you were playing hide and seek and one of your friends tricks you into coming out, he said it in that tone of voice, as if baiting me, like he was questioning whether the clutter in the back seat was just clutter or a person. I didn't want to move or check the window. I remained clutter. Give me an Academy Award. My body reacted by minimizing my breathing so much that I felt paralyzed. I dare not to look. My eyes fixated on the back of the passenger seat. I didn't blink, I didn't move, I didn't breathe. My heart was pounding so hard it shook my body with each throb. He circled around the car. My ears didn't fail me. I heard the steps. I felt like I was part of the car. I could feel him touching the trunk as he carefully pressed down on it, as if to test the alarm, as if to test me. I was in the middle of fight or flight. I couldn't do either without elevating danger. I was frozen and hoping to God he was bluffing. He circled the car again. The door handle to my right jiggled. He was pulling it multiple times. "I see you." Same tone, but more agitated and stressed, more convinced that he was trying to make that clutter move, revealing itself to be one of his expectations that it was me. My muscles tensed like a cow before slaughter. That had to be metal against glass. "Take a penny right now and tap your window." A crowbar, a knife, a rock, a gun. My eyes fixated on the seat in front of me, never averting my gaze like he was. I was covered enough to where I couldn't see beyond the seat in front of me. I know I couldn't see him, but I can feel his eyes resting on top of me.
"My name is Poker Face. What's your name?"
The voice changed in a lower, demented, and serious tone. My mind forced a visual. It wasn't anything human. I already accepted my death. I was ready to be shot in the head, ready to take a life-changing bullet, multiple knife wounds. Just make the sleep bearable, not excruciating, as you drain me of life. I wouldn't know how to react. My thoughts grew dimmer. I imagined my friend waking up the next morning after a calm night of safe and sound sleep, only to discover my mutilated, defiled, and bloody body hanging outside of my car door. It was then I heard nothing but my own heart. What was this person doing now? Just staring at me in the middle of the night, talking to me, or a messy pile in the back seat? Time froze. The footsteps were being swallowed in the distance. Thank God he left. I waited another hour until the sun showed hints of itself. I jumped in my front seat and bolted out of there, wide-eyed and sober. And that's the end of the story.
So many people have asked me, what happens when ghosts realize you can see them? And, you know, there's expectation and reality.
You mean to tell me I'm dead?
What? Oh shit, you can see me? Gross. I don't like that. Yeah, can you, stop banging on walls and shit? What? No, fuck you. Fucking asshole.
What happens when a serial killer kidnaps the most dangerous woman in the world?
He had raped and killed over 100 black women.
How did she survive when so many didn't?
To this day, I have PTSD of that van experience.
Young women are being snatched off of streets.
Why did she get in the van?
That's when I realized there was a big chain on it and a lock.
A demon is murdering innocent young women.
I was so terrified.
But there's one thing her kidnapper didn't know.
Thank God! My uncles in Quiet Storm taught me how to fight. And what he would do, he'd take the keys. He locked the door, he put the key down behind him. He said, now here's the deal. Once you get past me and get the key and leave, that's how you earn your black belt. I got that close to that key, I can get that baby. I know I can. So I'll never forget that day when him and we went at it. Boom, 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 boom. I got the key, opened the door and walked out. I'll never forget him saying, now you've earned your black belt.
Although she didn't realize what was waiting for her, as her training would become helpful a lot sooner than she expected.
These girls had invited me to a domino game. So I go on down, we play dominoes around all these people that I don't know. They're constantly giving me drinks left and forth, but I don't drink. So dude says, I'll take you home. I took the ride. I get in, and I'll never forget when he shut the door. The sound of the door is what got me. He gets in, and we're driving along, And I say turn right, and he turns left. I say, yo, bro, you going the wrong way. Or he didn't say nothing. We get to this area, he's like, now let me just stick it in, then I take you home. And I said, no, and I was going around, no, absolutely not. And he says, let me stick it in. No. And then he went to swing, boom, and I blocked it and hit and ran to the back of the van. And that's when I realized there was a big chain on it and a lock. Then he said, oh, so you one of them fighting ones. Then he came at me, he tried to tackle me, and I grabbed him in his shirt tail, swung him back, pulled him down over his pants. I stepped on his chest and I grabbed his and I said, where the keys at, motherfucker? I unlocked the door and I said, listen, when a says no, she means no. And I walked in, bam! Then I left. And I had the keys and I tossed them. That way he couldn't catch me.
Major break in the search for a serial killer.
He's accused of the most brutal crimes, at least 10 victims over a 25-year period.
After DNA evidence, Lonnie Franklin Jr. was arrested. Surviving victim and boxer Fredia Gibbs was terrified to ever step foot in California again. That was until she got a call that she never expected.
I get a phone call to fight for the world title. What do I do? And they say to me, you're gonna fight the most dangerous woman in the world. The most dangerous woman in the world? She must be tough. So I had to go to my mom. So they want me to fight the most dangerous woman in the world. My mom said, how the hell can she be the most dangerous woman in the world when I am? And she gave me a hug, saying to me, you are a star, and your job is to let the world know that you're a star. Here I am walking out to the arena, and I'm just keeping my eyes on the ring. I just kept my eyes on the ring. This one voice say, that's the black girl who came here to get knocked out. First round, bam, bam, bam. I gave a little something, let her know, hey, look, not tonight. Second round, she busted me up. Third round, we going at bam, bam, bam. And I saw myself fall.
After going down, Fredia had to reach within her to stay motivated to keep going.
Boom! That's how. Bam! She spin again. Bam! Just like that, and it was over.
After inspiring millions, an image was captured to remember this incredible moment in sporting history.
Looked up, 8/16, my mama's birthday. My mom used to say to me, you got it in you, just don't know it. Somebody gonna have to wake it up. This is what this life is all about, because we all have a race to win.
I've got the creepiest story to tell you. I've just read it and I need to tell you before I forget it. It's honestly disgusting. It's about a woman that has a sugar daddy and he asks her to do really weird, peculiar favours for him. This girl's a student and she wants to earn some extra cash, but she doesn't want to get a job and actually work. I mean, don't we all? So she decides to look on a sugar daddy website. So she's browsing through and she's like, these are all creeps. I don't actually want a relationship or do anything intimate. I just want somebody to give me money. I mean, dream life, right? She sees an ad that says, sugar baby wanted, no relationship. Other words used. So she's like, I'm going to shoot my shot, just messages him. Hi. Instantly gets a reply. Hey, sweetheart. And she's like, oh, don't call me sweetheart, but whatever. I'm going to entertain the conversation. They're chatting, getting to know each other. She finds out his name's Jack, doesn't want no relationship of sorts. And he says, can you give me your number, or I prefer to use Kik. I think Kik was like a private messaging site. I don't actually know. I'm a bit too young for that. Anyway, she's like, it's not 2011. I don't know what Kik is. I don't have that app, but here's my number. Let's just talk on there. So he's like, yeah, sound. Also give me a Venmo and I'll send you some cash if you do me a favour. So she's just like, okay, what's this favour? Like, what do you want from me? And he says, I just want you to do a few little favours for me here and there. And I'll send you some cash. Like, tonight, can you pick up a parcel for me? She's like, picking up a parcel sounds easy enough to me. Yes, I'll do it. So he instantly Venmos her £700. And she's like, that's really easy money. And he says, okay, when you get there, don't look in the parcel. But also when you deliver it to my house, I'm not there. You're going to have to let yourself in the house. But make sure you lock the door twice. This is the first of the odd requests. Easy way to make 700 quid though. And she's like, okay, I'm going to pick up this parcel for him. Gets the address. On her way there, she's thinking, am I going to get kidnapped? Are they going to adopt me? Like, general thoughts that women have. She gets to the house and a guy opens the door. It looks a bit rough. And he's like, are you here for jack shit? And she's like, I guess so. And he hands her a shoebox. But this shoebox is like kind of cardboardy and very, very damp. And also is like oozing some sort of liquid from the corners. This guy says, open the car and I'll put it in the boot for you. And he just looks at her and just says, just make sure you watch out. Watch out for what, sir, is what I'd be asking him. Arrives at this house and it's massive. It's like a mansion. And then she notices that her phone is buzzing and she's got a text from Jack and it says, make sure you don't answer the phone unless it's from Marvin. And she just kind of ignores it and she's like, I hope he hasn't given my number out to other people. She finds where the spare key is. She makes sure she opens and locks the door twice and she puts the parcel where he's asked her to on a very specific table. It's like, these are easy rules. She then hears the phone ring. She's thinking, do I answer it? And she looks around the house. This house is immaculate, perfect, pristine, like a show home. And she finds a mobile phone on a bed. And she picks up the phone and it says that Jack's calling. And she's like, I don't want no one to test me here. I'm just going to ignore it, going to leave. Follows the rules to lock the door twice when she leaves as well. Everything goes fine. And she ends up doing a few more favours for Jack in the future. Earns a good bit of cash. Some of these favours are a bit weird though. Some of these jobs are a bit weird. I wouldn't say it's more of a sugar daddy, sugar baby relationship. More like an employee doing some runarounds. One of these jobs is driving a BMW to a random park in a random city and driving a different BMW back. Dropping off various briefcases and oozy wet shoeboxes. Taking employees out to dinner. Also every now and then she's got to babysit like this grown man called Julio and she gets quite friendly with him and he's now a mate. But she's like, I'm getting paid to do all this, so I'm not complaining. Buys herself some nice furniture, buys herself some nice clothes. She's fine. Nothing that weird's happening. He's just got some odd requests every now and then. One day she gets a buzz on her phone saying, I'm out of town for a little while. I need you to stay at my house. I'll pay you £1,000 a night. He said he'll check in with her in the morning to see if he needs her to stay another night, but there'll be a list of rules on a piece of paper on the dining room table. So she knows the gig, she knows what to do when she gets to the house, unlocks the door twice, blah, 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 goes there. Now, on the dining room, she does find a list of rules. These rules would make me leave. Like, I ain't messing about with these rules. The first two are ones that she already knows. You only answer the phone to Marvin, who, by the way, she's never spoke to, and you have to lock the doors twice. Bear in mind, this girl knows this guy's house quite well and she knows the standard rules, but she's never actually met Jack in person. They've had one phone call with each other, but he's just a stranger. Now, this next rule is a bit weird. You can't use the water between 9 p.m. and 11 p.m. and maybe it's just being tight, you know? Maybe there's a water surcharge during that time. And then they just get creepy. And this rule would get me out of that house. This rule is, if the cupboard door at the end of the corridor is open, you must sleep in the library and lock yourself in. But if it's closed, you can sleep in any bedrooms. I'm sorry, what? If that library door is open, I'd be running out of that. I'd be packing my bags. Grand ain't enough, mate. Ain't enough. The rules also say if anybody knocks on the door after 10 p.m, it doesn't matter who they say they are, you do not open that door, no matter how tempted you are. We have a gardener coming at midnight. If he knocks on the window, you need to hide. And also, make sure you turn the TV on static and you need to play it on all night. Do not forget to do this, all in block capitals. Because all the weird shit starts happening around 9 p.m. She's like, 8:50, before I can't use the water, I'm going to go brush my teeth, get in bed. Guess what? That door is open. That cupboard door is open. And she's like, oh, gotta lock myself in the library tonight. Bitch, what? No, you don't. What's open that cupboard door? Somehow she's fine with it and she's like, yep, I'm going to lock myself in here and go to bed. Falls asleep quite quickly, apparently, because about 10:15 she's woken up by the doorbell ringing and she looks at her phone. It's 10:15. I can't answer that door. And then she can hear who's at the door and they're saying, it's the police, let me in. It's the police, it's the police, you must open up. It's the police, it's the police. And she's like, it was slightly important, the police are going to break down the door. Like, I'm not answering that door. I'm not failing at this task. Then changes and then it's Jack at the door, knocking on the door saying, let me in, I forgot my key, let me in. She's like, I ain't pissing about, I ain't doing it, you ain't beating me. And she falls back asleep. I don't know how she does it, but she does it. In the morning she gets up and she's like, bit weird last night, but I'm gonna get paid £1,000. And then she can hear noises downstairs, like a bit fumbling, like someone's downstairs, and she's like, oh, maybe Jack's come home or he's got a cleaner or something. I'm not expecting this, he usually texts me. She goes downstairs and there's a man in the kitchen and she's just kind of standing at the doorway and he goes, oh, how are you? Did you have a good sleep? And she recognises his voice through a phone conversation that it's Jack. And she's like, oh, hey, I didn't expect you to be here. He's like, yeah, well, I decided to come home early. I'm just making breakfast. Can I make you something? And he makes her some eggs and coffee and the conversation's really awkward. He breaks the silence by saying like, so how was it? And she's like, nothing too weird happened. And he's like, cool. Conversation's that awkward, and she lies that she's got to go to school, and she's like, I've got to go to class. I'll speak to you later. And he's like, no worries, I'll speak to you when I speak to you. On the way back, she's like, that was a really awkward conversation. Like, was he there to catch me out? And then she remembers she didn't turn the TV static on all night. And then she just remembers, like, oh my God, he told me to do that. Like, that was the one thing I couldn't forget to do. She's paranoid that she's not going to get paid, or she's never going to, like, work with him again. And she's just getting really anxious and paranoid that something bad's going to happen. Her phone buzzes and she gets £1,000 through Venmo. And she's like, oh, thank God for that. Like, I've been paid, all good. She then gets a text from Jack. The text says, I'm still out of town. Do you think you can do the same tonight? She rereads it. I'm still out of town. Do you think you could do the same tonight? Who was in the house in the morning? Because it weren't Jack. She doesn't reply to Jack. And she's like, I don't know what I've got myself into. I'm too scared. I don't want to go back to that house. What's going on? And then she gets another text from an unknown number. This time just saying, watch out. What is going on? Who are these people? What has she got involved with? There is a part 2. I haven't read it yet. But I am on my own tonight. And, oh God, I need to stop reading scary stories before bed.
This footage right here literally is the reason I never ever want to leave my house again. Me and my husband don't really get out much together, so we hired a babysitter and went out to dinner. And my phone had an alert, and this is what we saw on the doorbell. We called our babysitter and told her to go into the master bedroom and lock herself in the bathroom. Told her basically nothing's wrong, just a precaution. And we left the restaurant and came right home. But on the way home, of course, I'm watching this. God, I don't know what was said. The whole video recorded as white noise. But clearly she has something in her hands and it looks like a baby. And there's a storm outside. I don't know what her intentions were until we saw what she did at the end. But before that, she's just staring up into the sky. There was no rain. It was just thunder and lightning, constant. I had the babysitter on speakerphone on the way home while I'm watching this happen. We try to reassure her and let her know that the police are on their way. It won't be too long. What I saw next made my heart drop. The thing we can see her holding here that looks like a baby was a doll. She must have been using it as a prop to get into people's houses.
What's the weirdest thing that ever happened to you that made you think that God was real? And I'm not talking about believing in some kind of universal energy. I'm talking...
Okay, it's my turn. Yes, God is real. Because he teleported an angel into a gas station bathroom to save my life. When I was 20 years old, I was living in Florida with my boyfriend, now husband, and I was driving home to Missouri for Christmas. My path took me through Alabama, Tennessee, Kentucky, and onwards. And when I stopped at a gas station in Alabama, I went in to use the bathroom. The women's door was red, it was big, it was squeaky, it was wooden, and it was heavy. And I distinctly remember pushing open this bathroom door, walking in thinking, geez, that's kind of an aggressive door. There were 3 stalls in this bathroom. I check all of them because I always go for the cleanest one. I sit down to do my business and the faucet turns on. Nobody opened that door. That door did not open. This person appeared in this bathroom. So I did what any sane person would do, and I shoved my head under the stall door to peek out and see what the heck was going on. And what I saw were a pair of grandma orthopedic shoes, you know, the grayish, tannish, all one color shoes. I sit up and finish what I'm doing, and I go out there, and there is a beautiful mixed race woman. She's a grandma. She has beautiful caramel skin, and she has the brightest, most piercing green eyes I have ever seen in my entire life. She says to me, young lady, where are you going? I said, I'm going home to Missouri to see my family for Christmas. I said, how about you? She said, I'm going to go see my grandbabies. Go see my grandbabies up in Montgomery. We chatted a minute. I said goodbye, because at this point I'm still freaking out. And she says, young lady, I need you to hear me. I need you to listen. If you hear anything wrong with your car, you need to pull over immediately. Do you hear me? I said, yeah, okay. She's like, no, I need you to hear me. if you hear anything go wrong with your car, you need to stop and pull over. Do you understand? I said, I understand. I backed out through the door, and I swear to God, I stood there, and that door swung back in, and she was gone. And I stood there for 2 minutes just staring at that door, thinking, what just happened? So I get in my little Ford red ZX2 two-door sport coupe. And I get on the road. I do not turn on the radio. I do not keep my phone on me. Everything is silent. I drive for 2 or 3 hours like this, and I'm about to, like, well, this might be crazy. And then I hear tink, tink, tink. The slightest tink I've ever heard in my life. And had I had a radio on, I would have never heard it. And as soon as I heard it, I found the next exit. I pulled off. It was a Casey's gas station in the middle of nowhere of Kentucky. And as soon as I put my car in park, everything started happening with my engine. Tinks, booms, bangs, smoke came out. Come to find out, my timing belt had completely fallen apart. The chain broke. The mechanic later said he'd never seen anything like this. And had that happened when I was driving, I would have lost all power steering. I would crash and probably died. So is God real? Heck yes, he's real. Angels are real. This is my story. Thank you.
Did anybody else get the video on their For You page of the girl recording what sounds like her mom outside her door, calling her to come to the door and let her in, but it's not her mom because she's home alone? Because I just got that video and it is nighttime and now I'm terrified. It starts like growling at the end, and that's what really did it for me. I had like a visceral reaction to that. So I'm gonna play it, and I'm warning you, if it's night, don't watch it. Wait till the morning. Call me stupid for thinking that's real, but something about that voice at the end, that does not seem fake to me. I'm gullible maybe, but I do not like that.
People never understand my irrational fear until I show them my basement. My irrational fear is that there are people living inside of my walls. And this is why. Believe it or not, that is pretty tame for my basement. But as you can see, there is a literal hallway system that wraps around the entire foundation of my basement. But then we have rooms like this that are so filled with junk from previous generations that you wouldn't even be able to tell if someone was hiding right there in front of me, in plain sight. Not only that, but past the actual tree that is the supporting beam for my living room floor, there is a crawl space that leads to a bigger room right past this wall that we didn't even know existed until just recently. And I don't even want to show you what's in these two rooms. I have lived here my entire life and I still don't feel comfortable opening those doors. I will make a video about what's in those rooms if there's enough interest, but for now I will leave you with the question that I know is on everyone's mind. Yes, my house is haunted, but I'm still just scared that there are feral people living in my walls.